So this is a continuation of the reading from last week when Miss Traphis is eating the orange section by section and cutting it with her fork and knife. I sat there going through the things I did with my fingers. It doesn't bear to think about it, does it? Miss Traphis said. Fingers are just implements. They are the gardening implements of the body, the shovels and the forks. You push them into everything. We need them to survive, I said. Not for long, you won't, she said darkly. I watched her eating her orange, spearing the little boats one after the other with her fork. I could have told her that the fork wasn't sterilized either, but I kept quiet. Toes are even worse, she said suddenly. I beg your pardon? They're the worst of all, she said. What's wrong with toes? They're the nastiest part of the human body, she announced vehemently. Worse than fingers? There's no comparison, she snapped. Fingers are foul and filthy, but toes? Toes are reptilian and viperish. I don't wish to talk about them. I was getting a bit confused. But one doesn't eat with toes, I said. I never said you did, Miss Traphis snapped. Then what's so awful about them? I persisted. Ugh, she said. They're like little worms sticking out of your feet. I hate them. I hate them. I can't bear to look at them. Then how do you cut your toenails? I don't, she said. My boy does it for me. I wondered why she was Miss if she had been married and had a boy of her own. Perhaps he was illegitimate. How old is your son? I asked, treading carefully. No, 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 she cried. Don't you know anything? A boy isn't one's servant. Didn't you learn that when you read Isaac Dinesen? Ah, yes, of course, I said, remembering. Absent-mindedly, I took an orange myself and was about to start peeling it. Don't, Miss Traphis said, shuddering. You'll catch something if you do that. Use your knife and fork. Go on, try it. I tried it. It was rather fun. There was something satisfying about cutting the skin with just the right depth and then peeling away the segments. There you are, she said. Well done. Do you employ a lot of boys on your coffee farm? I asked her. About 50. Do they go barefoot? Mine don't, she said. No one works for me without shoes on. It costs me a fortune, but it's worth it. I liked Miss Traphis. She was impatient, intelligent, generous, and interesting. I felt she would come to my rescue at any time, whereas Major Griffiths was vapid, vulgar, arrogant, and unkind, the sort of man who'd leave you to the crocodiles. He might even push you in. Both of them, of course, were completely dotty. Everyone on the ship was dotty, but none, as it turned out, was quite as dotty as my cabin companion, UN Savory. Okay, so our first question is why or how does he show us that Miss Traphis is dotty or crazy? And you're going to copy 3 phrases that would show you that. So I'm going to show you an annotation of the text that does this question here and then also shows you how he reacts to Miss Traphis. So here in this picture, you can see the green is Miss Traphis and how she is portrayed as crazy. When she's talking about toes sticking out of her feet like worms and that she hates them, he's not coming out in the text and saying she's crazy. But then when you read it, you're like, she's crazy. So this is one of the parts of the text that you could copy into your first question. Here in the red, we see his reaction to her. And you can see an explanation here on the side. He says, I tried it. It was rather fun. So he takes the orange and does what she says. and says that it's kind of satisfying. He doesn't treat her as if she's crazy, even though she is, and the reader can see that. And he's definitely portraying her as crazy, but he's not treating her that way, and he's also not just coming out and telling us that way, or that she is that way. And he actually enjoys what she does. So he is adventurous enough to try it, and then also doesn't judge her in the process. And that gives us a clear picture of how she actually is crazy. So you could use the red parts to answer the second question here. That would be one of your answers. So remember, you need 3 in the top box about how Miss Traphis is crazy, how she's described as crazy in the passage. Don't use this down here of where he's telling you what she is. You need to use the dialogue about how he's showing you. And then down here, you have one from over here that you can copy here, and then you need one more. And then how do you think that he feels about her? So he doesn't come out and say that she is crazy. He does call her other things. So based on what he says in the dialogue, and then also what he says about her in this last paragraph here, how do you think that he feels about her? Okay, so to move on, this question here, is dialogue a type of showing or telling? So the question we have is when the writer basically reveals to you what the characters are saying and doesn't tell you exactly how he feels about that, that's a type of showing. So this whole unit so far has been showing and telling, and making a more vivid picture of someone. So we get a lot more information about Miss Traphis through the dialogue, and through the writer, Dahl, showing us. Okay, and he's not telling, he's showing, because he's revealing without just saying she's crazy, right? She's crazy is one line. It doesn't give you a picture of someone. It doesn't let you make your own determinations about someone, and it doesn't like give kind of nuances to how crazy she actually is. She could be like murder crazy, or she could just be like yelling at people crazy, and we would have no idea. But she's like cutting an orange with a fork and knife crazy. She's like doesn't cut her own toenails crazy. And so we wouldn't be able to determine kind of how she actually is without the dialogue showing us how she is, instead of telling us straight up like she's just nuts. And then at the next part of this is you writing again. So using the ideas that we're building through reading other people's work, specifically Dahl's work, you are going to use those in your own writing. So you've done some of this work already, but the point here is to go back and really focus in on showing people rather than telling people how you feel. So these questions here, they look very similar. The last part of the question changes. So you're still thinking about this moment all the way down, when something went really right or really wrong in elementary school. What is one thing that you said or thought? That's what you're going to write here. What did you hear, see, or smell? What is one thing you did? What is something someone else did? So all of these 4 components here are focusing on helping you show someone what happened rather than just telling someone, I was really scared, or I acted really stupid, or it was really crazy. You're really building the picture of what happened. And then here you're going to use all of these elements to write at least 6 sentences about